Man, I was just a little kid in the projects, man. When I started, I literally started doing haircuts, chili bowls, like the hard line. I actually had a dream one night that I did a blend, like no more lines, like
So
I did
you
a
learned how to
blend.
fade in a dream.
Swear to God. And I had a son at the age of 15, so I had to buy diapers, you know.
Wow.
So it had to get real quick.
How important has she been in your success in your life?
Oh, don't do this. I never cared what people think. I always went against the grain. They said nobody ever lasts there. You know, they're always something new going in there. We opened up there, and day one, I mean, I'm surprised the door didn't fall off the hinges.
You're born in Lorraine. You live in the projects. You had a kid at 15. You opened a barbershop in a place where everybody told you it wouldn't work. So since the beginning, you've been defeating odds.
Anybody can own a barbershop, yeah. Can anybody keep it open? Maybe not anybody, you know.
What was it that pushed you towards real estate?
Then he told me, the agent that he bought a house from, he told me, yeah, he made blah, blah on that deal.
Do you feel more fulfilled now than you did just cutting hair?
Do I feel more fulfilled?
Man, back where it all started, where I really got to launch my barber career alongside you, man, which is truly like a blessing and an honor. So, you know what I'm saying? Thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Oh, man. Thank you for getting your start with us. Because, again, well, not again, we're just talking about this, but this is how we help each other grow, right?
Yeah.
Like, without Dre, there's like no me, you know what I mean? Without you, it takes a team. So, and you were a part of that. So,
Yeah.
And I'm glad you were a part of it with us for sure, because you're killing it.
Thank you. So speaking about helping each other, right? One thing I've noticed from knowing you the past 7 years is you are not a person who withholds information, right? Or what people say nowadays, you don't gatekeep.
Never.
Right?
Yeah.
So, which is rare.
Okay.
Because in a world where people feel threatened by other people's success, because somehow they believe like, if this person wins, it like stops my ability to achieve, right? Why do you continue to be an open book?
Really, because again, we're helping each other grow. And you know, it took time to even realize that, for real. You know, when we first expanded into what was our bigger location in the beginning, you know, to the spot, when we transitioned into the spot, you know, when we had a barber leave for the first time, it was like, oh, you know, it hurt, you know what I mean? But you want to see them do good, obviously, you know, you wish the best for them, but those are things that you have to experience and go through. And then, you know, after a couple times, you know, you realize it's okay, even though you knew it would be okay, but you still, you know, you're like, man, I got to find somebody else that can. Imagine trying to find somebody that can fit Dre's shoes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of want to keep those standards, you know, and that's tough, you know? But over time, man, it just really is just part of growth. And you realize, like, man, like you'd like to see them stay forever. But if their goal is to have their own shop, then you kind of want to see that happen for them, you know?
Yeah.
And by you providing a stage or a platform for them that can help them grow, I think is awesome, you know?
Yeah.
And so you say, why do I keep doing that? I don't know, man. It's just, I do like helping people.
Yeah.
Like,
and honestly, I think that's why you've been able to see the success you had, or to be able to get the success that you have, right? Because if you think about it, every barber in the city that we're from, Lorraine, has really filtered through the spot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to think that you've had that level of influence on the whole barber culture of the Lorraine, Ohio area, man, that's something to be proud of.
Yeah, you're right.
You know?
Yeah.
So was there a person early on in your career that was that open resource for you?
Man, I don't think so. I really don't think so. But you got to remember, man, that was a long time ago, Dre. Like, you know, and I guess what I mean by that is, man, when I first started, you know, I got my license in 2000, you know, and back then in Lorraine, in this area, Lorain, Lorain County, I guess I would want to say, or, Lorain, Ohio for sure. Like there was only a couple of shops like that I can think of. And then especially not to downplay anybody, but like that were relevant. There was really only a couple of shops,
Right.
Where now there's a lot of shops, you know what I mean? And, and like you said, maybe quite a few of them may have filtered through the spot, which is kind of amazing, really, if you think about it.
Have you thought about it that way?
What? No, I never thought about that. What I do notice these days is how barbers, we have social media, we have YouTube, which you know very well.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, man, I watch these young barbers, including yourself, like come out of school and just go from like 0 to 60 real quick. Like,
right.
Wow. Like when I started, I literally started doing haircuts, chili bows, like the hard line. And I don't know if that was necessary. Maybe that was the style then.
Yeah.
But then I don't know what it was with my vision, but like I actually had a dream one night that I did a blend, like no more lines, like
So
I
you
did a
learned
blend.
how to fade in a dream.
Swear to God.
That is crazy.
And I woke up the next day and couldn't wait to turn on the clippers and get somebody in the chair to try that blend that I had a dream of.
Was that first blend, was it good?
It was probably pretty good,
Yeah.
not like, obviously, again, growth, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, so I didn't have YouTube. I didn't have, I didn't have Dre Clipper hand videos to watch. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, so no. And again, I'm not downplaying the barbers that were out when I was starting, but my first shop that I worked in was like it was really like an old school shop, you know what I mean? It had pink and purple walls with the Coming to America grease stains on the walls, I mean, it was, but that was where people was going through, that was about something then, you know what I mean? So I started there for a year and then, and then opened up my own shop. So
man, that's amazing. So you didn't have that open resource or
I don't,
that person to give you
Dre,
advice.
if I don't think I did, and if I'm missing something, forgive me for whoever that person was.
Yeah.
But not really. I mean, my uncle was a barber.
Yeah.
My uncle Tony was a barber, and and I kind of looked up to my uncle. So he took me to the barber school and introduced me to the owner and stuff like that. And and he was a really good barber too. So but other than that, like no, not like on the scale of
Right. So let me ask you, what was life like growing up? Young Ralphie in Lorain, Ohio. What was life like?
Man, life growing up was fun. It was fun, man, I grew up in the projects, 30th and Globe in South Lorain, and that, man, you ask like, did I have like an influence or something to get, man, you know what? That was my influence. Like that helped everything because growing up with no money, like my parents never took me to a barbershop. And it's cool. Like, my dad had clippers at home. So who was my barber?
Your dad.
My dad.
Yeah.
So my dad used to cut mine and my brother's hair. And there was, I had some kind of vision, so I used to think I can do better than this.
Right.
So, I started cutting my own hair and I was 11 years old. I started cutting mine and my brother's hair. And then the neighborhood that I grew up in, nobody had money. So when they caught wind to Ralphie got clippers down there, you better go get a haircut from him because, we ain't going to a barbershop. So then that's how it started, man. I started cutting everybody in the hood and it was, of course, free, and it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. So, but really, like, that was my life growing up, man. That was all I did, man. I cut hair literally all my life.
How old were you?
When I first started, I was 11.
Wow.
And then started cutting all the neighbors' hair again. There was a lot of chili bows walking around 30. But but yeah, man, that was it, man. And so from there, it just was I was getting better, and $2 to $5 to $10, and then before you know it, people started giving me 20, and then I ended up throwing 2 stations, kind of like these in the shop, in my basement.
Wow.
And then my brother started picking it up. So me and my brother were cutting side by side in the basement. That's when the 20s started coming through,
Okay.
That's when I started buying the family pizza, and I started, it was cool, you know what I mean? And I had a son at the age of 15, so I had to buy diapers,
Wow.
So it had to get real quick.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, you mentioned your dad and how he started cutting your hair and stuff. So, how big of a role did your parents play in the mindsets that you have, and the mindsets that you live your life by?
I mean, they played a role as far as I mean, all kind of roles, right? They were my
Yeah.
parents, but you know, off the strength of just them staying together through everything.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
So, how old were you in this picture?
Man, I was probably. Man, did I do the haircut? No, I didn't do that. I must have not. No, I was probably about 9 because I definitely wasn't cutting hair yet there because I could tell by my brother because he's looking like Dennis the Menace right there with that haircut.
Okay. So let me just state, you and your brother are twins. I couldn't figure out which one was you.
Oh, okay.
But I figured the one on the right was you, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep,
got you.
Yeah. Yeah, you never seen me with hair in it besides this picture.
No, other than your license picture.
And there was barely any in that picture.
Yeah, it was like, yeah.
But yeah, so I was probably about 9 there, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
How big of a role has your father played in your life?
Oh man, he played a big role. He did. You know, I say we didn't have much, but just having him there was crazy, you know, because you know, he told me some things like, remember I grew up in the projects, there was a lot going on out there. So he kind of told me what to stay away from, you know what I mean? So, you know, I did take his advice on those things and it kept me free out here for, you know.
Yeah. That's beautiful. If there's a piece of advice that you can remember that your father or your mother gave you, that has stuck with you to this day or just affected the way you live your life, what is it?
Oh.
If you can remember.
Oh man. Man, I mean, I wish I really had that answer. Like when I tell you the advice that he gave me on what to stay away from, you know, without getting into details on that, that was probably about it, man. Cause
it was probably more so the way they live their life.
Yeah.
That you exemplified, right?
Yeah. And you know, and they stayed together, like I said, through thick and thin. I think that's probably why me and my wife been together since, you know, 89, 90 junior high.
Right.
You know. So yeah. You know.
Man, that's crazy. So you had your first kid at 15.
Yeah.
And it was with the wife that you have now, right?
Yeah.
How long have you guys been together?
Well, our oldest son is 32. So we've been together, like I said, 89, 90, however many years that is. So we're talking, he's 32. We had him in 91, you know. So, man, maybe like 34 years or something like that. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. So, what type of challenges did you face having a kid so young?
First of all, you know, thinking you're grown up when you're not, you know what I mean? So that was one challenge, actually growing up and, you know, and just trying to, man, really, I mean, as a kid, man, think about it. I'm just trying to make sure I can do my part however I can.
Right.
You know, we were so young that, of course, he had to grow up in my wife's house, you know, with her and her parents so she can go to school still and stuff like that. So they played a big part in helping, you know, raise my son, you know what I mean? But I always wanted to do my part. So, yeah. So it was hustle.
Yeah.
Like, it was always hustle. Like I always had to hustle.
That's beautiful, man. Honestly, ever since I met you and I found out like your story and how long you've been with your wife and how you guys just made it work, despite odds really being stacked against you guys, man, I just want to give you your flowers, man. It's beautiful.
Man, thank you.
It's rare.
You.
It's rare.
Yeah.
So you said you started cutting hair young.
Yes.
Right? So kind of part of your identity is tied to barbering.
Oh, for sure.
But if you had to describe who you were before you became a barber, like who were you?
Man, I was just a little kid in the projects, man.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Like, that's who I was. Like, you know, I mean, we had fun. We clowned around. We cracked on each other all day long. You know, we hung out in the parking lot. You know, I was a kid, you know.
Yeah.
And then starting cutting hair as a kid, I was Ralphie the Barber, man. I mean, like right away. Like, really.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Like you said, like, you know, I'm identified as a barber, like
it's part of who you are.
People.
Yeah. So when did you first realize that barbering was gonna be the way for you?
Probably the first time somebody gave me a $20 bill.
What did that feel like?
It felt good. It felt good. You know, again, like money's not a thing, right? You know, I mean, I'm just saying, you know, you start getting that from nothing, like, never really worked a job. You know what I mean? Like, especially early on. I
Right.
mean, I only worked really 2, maybe 3 jobs other than barbering in my
Right.
life, you know? So, yep. And 2 of those were before, well, one, no, none of them was before cutting hair, though. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
obviously, but I thought, man, it'd be cool to try a job and see what that's like.
What was that first job?
Man, it was a place called Grumbelly's. You know where Lenochi's is at on Cooper Foster? That little like it's like a little Italian restaurant
I
right on
think
the
so.
corner
I
of like
think so.
Overton
Yes,
Avenue.
yes.
That used to be called Grumbelly's, and I don't know what made me call them up, but I called them up and I mean, I filled out an application there or something like that, and I called, and the manager there, it's so ironic that he ended up being a barber too, like later on, you know. Yeah, and his name was Lou Nieves. They call him Hot Sauce.
Wow.
I don't even know. I think he's in California now. But anyways, he when I remember when he called me like, hey man, you filled out an application, and he sounded like the coolest dude in the world. So I was like, oh, this is probably the job for me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I went up there, man, and it was just I think I did some dishes. I think I might have served some people, and yeah, it was kind of fun, but it was very, very short lived.
I'm about to say, how long did it last?
I probably got maybe 2 paychecks.
Okay.
3. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun. I don't know, but but it wasn't like cutting hair. You know what I mean?
Right.
Cutting hair it's always been everything. Leading up into obviously some changes that I recently had. But
Yeah. Was maybe part of that decision to get a quote unquote real job because there was a stigma attached to barbering? Like, people have a view of barbering as not being like a
job,
real
a
career.
real
And I feel
job.
like it's kind of changed.
Oh, it definitely changed.
But
yeah.
what was there a stigma? And do you feel like it affected you early on in your career?
It was definitely a stigma.
Yeah.
Like for sure. Yeah. That was a stigma. It was a stigma, but I don't think I felt that though that early. You know what I mean? I think I started feeling that later on. It never stopped me from doing what I was doing because
Right.
that's what I always did. But there was always that like, oh, he's a barber. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It was almost like when you have conversations, like I always felt like it was dope to be a
Yeah.
barber, but you can tell when you talk to certain people, it's like, oh, he's just a barber.
Like looked down
yeah,
upon,
yeah,
right?
yeah. You kind of felt
Yeah.
that, yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, that was good for barbers back then because, hey, you don't know what I'm making.
yeah.
But I'm making it,
Yeah,
you know what I'm
exactly,
saying?
exactly.
Yeah.
And you never come out and say that,
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
And they didn't care because they already had their assumption probably made anyways,
Yeah. Do you feel as an entrepreneur and as someone who has gained a good amount of success that the ability to not care what other people think is important?
Yeah, I mean, you can't worry about what other people think like ever. I mean, that's just I never cared what people think. I always went against the grain. So like if people told me you don't want to open up a shop there, I opened up a shop there. You know what I mean? So, it was like, okay, now I feel like I have to do it to show that it could be done there,
Yeah.
So I never really cared what anybody said, to be honest. I mean, we all got feelings, right?
Yeah.
Like it depends on what they're saying, but again, growing up with a bunch of Cat Williams and these type of dudes that I grew up with, like it's hard to hurt my feelings. You know what I
100.
mean? With jokes and
100.
so yeah. I don't even know if I went off topic with your question there, but
No, that's perfect. It actually
Yeah.
segues into the next question. You said growing up with the Cat Williams and these different personalities in the barbershop that you can remember, how do you feel like the barbershop environment cultivated like your personality, like personally as well as like professionally?
man, I don't know. Maybe just dealing with all these different personalities,
Yeah.
and clients. You building relationships with clients that are on all different types of levels in life. So maybe. I mean, for a long time, it was just strictly jokes. I mean, jokes after
Yeah.
joke. Like,
Like straight barbershop movie, Ice Cube.
we could have probably made a better one for real.
Yeah,
Like, it was crazy.
yeah.
It was crazy, you know, to the point where it was to the point that we had to start having meetings that we had
What
to,
barbershop was this?
this was actually, it started at the Perfect Blend,
Yeah.
you know, with our first shop. And then it just went to the next level when we opened up the spot, because
Yeah.
we brought some real comedians on board. Dre, what you doing here, man? Pulling out these pictures, man.
Trying to refresh that memory, put you back in that place.
Yeah, yeah. So right here, this picture, man, it's crazy, right? A picture could take you right to exactly where you was at that time, right? So this picture right here, I was actually, so when we talked about getting jobs, was it because of the stigma? I was actually working at U.S. Steel in this picture. I mean, obviously I'm in the barbershop, but, and again, I didn't get that job because of a stigma. I actually got that job because the spot was jumping. I mean, we had, the whole shop was full, you know, and it was, you know, it was generating some good, you know, passive income. So I thought, man, I should try to get a job with some benefits. So I can get some medical benefits and stuff like that. And I actually was talking to people about, man, jobs that didn't even pay that much, Dre, but they had benefits.
Yeah.
But then it just so happened, somebody was like, man, you should go to U.S. Steel, which both my grandparents retired from U.S. Steel, but I never considered U.S. Steel. That was the backdrop of my life. That was right on 28th Street. I grew up on 30th. I've always seen that glitter or graphite falling all over us as kids, you know.
Yeah.
I never wanted to work there. But yes, I ended up getting in there, and it ended up being, you know, a 6-figure job, and with great benefits.
Awesome.
You know, so very short-lived, few years, you know what I mean? And back to the barbershop. But this picture right here, yes, we did have some comedians here, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I remember going here when I was little.
Yeah.
And just thinking to myself, I'd have no inclination I wanted to be a barber. And my mom didn't like going there, but I liked going there.
Okay.
Just because it was like a traditional, you know, barbershop type of feel. So you said you were at the steel mill during this time.
Yeah.
And the shop was jumping. You mentioned also that people told you to not open up a barbershop in a specific location. Was it the spot?
No, it actually wasn't the spot. It was the Perfect Blend, 34th and Pearl. They said nobody ever lasts there. You know, you know, they're always something new going in there. We opened up there, and in day one, I mean, I'm surprised the door didn't fall off the hinges.
Wow.
You know, it was nice. You know, we were nonstop, and then we had to. We ended up. I knew right away we was gonna need more space. You know,
Yeah.
so then I think we were only there a year when I bought the spot, the building.
Yeah.
And then worked on that grinding. It was a grind because every haircut I did had to pay for a sheet of drywall. You know what I mean? It was, you know, so it took me 5 years of getting that new place together. And then, because we were at the Perfect Blend for, I think it was 7 years, 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
And then we opened up the spot. And, man, what was your question?
No, that was a great answer.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
when you say that every haircut was paying for a part of the build out of the shop, in the moment, this is really hard work, right? But there's something I like to think about, which is like the power of hindsight after the fact. When you reflect on the moments where every haircut was paying for the build out of the shop, was there a real sense of fulfillment? Like when you think about that time period, like how does that make you feel? Like to see where it's at now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It was worth every bit of the grind, you
Yeah.
know? The vision was there.
Yeah.
Like I knew what it was going to turn into for sure. Like, you know, you can, you know, I mean, I'm sure you're the same way, Dre. Like if you can see it, it can happen. You know, if you
Yeah.
can visualize it, it can happen. But yeah, it was definitely worth it. And you know, and the struggle was real. Like every haircut I did had to pay for a sheet of drywall or some copper that got to go in the ground or some plumbing, right? But
You know what? It's so awesome because you're born in Lorraine. You live in the projects. You had a kid at 15. You opened a barbershop in a place where everybody told you it wouldn't work, and it ended up lasting 6, 7 years. You actually outgrew the space.
Right.
And had to move to another space.
Yeah.
So since the beginning, you've been defeating odds. That's crazy.
It is.
That's crazy. So not only were you a barber, obviously, you were a shop owner. And not only one shop, but you own 3, right? So do you remember the moment that you said to yourself, I'm ready to open up my own shop?
Man, I think I felt like that at the very beginning. Like I told you, I had stations already set up in my basement, right? And it was either when I was going to barber school or before I went to barber school, there was a salon that went out of business, and I bought all their stations, their shampoo stations, all their chairs. Like I just had that stuff sitting.
Yeah.
You know? And so I always knew I was gonna open a barbershop.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I always knew it. Like it wasn't
In the
about-
basement with those 2 chairs.
Yeah,
you already
because it
know.
was like I was already running my own barbershop.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, the day before schools, which I'm sure you could relate, the day before the first day of schools was insane. Till 2, 3 in the morning with the line all the way up the steps, going outside. Parents calling, like, is my son still there? You know, the whole, you know, I was running a barbershop then, you know what I
Right.
mean? As a kid in the basement. So it was, I knew that was going to happen. I did.
Do you think anybody can own a barbershop?
I think anybody can own a barbershop, yeah. Can anybody keep it open? You know, can anybody do what it takes to make it really flourish? Maybe not anybody, you know, but
Yeah.
but I think anybody who is, man, I think anybody who can be there when they say they're going to be there can own a barbershop. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if they want to cut hair, I mean, you got to start it, right? I mean, you got to build it.
Yeah.
And if you build it, you know, then maybe till one day you don't have to be there. But I guess anybody can own a barbershop, Dre. It's just what kind of barbershop.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I can attest to owning a shop it's not easy. I think I would differ in believing that anybody can open a shop, right? But like you said,
What kind of
keeping
shop?
it open is a different story.
Right.
And it's been a challenge, but a challenge well worth it.
Yes.
And honestly, a lot of the way I model my barbershop is off of the things that I saw from you. You know, you set a standard for not only how a barbershop looked, but how a barbershop is ran, the respect between barbers, how you communicate with them.
Wow.
And I think that it's very important, but it can be challenging, right? So let me ask you, what is one of the hardest lessons you learned being a shop owner?
I think one of the things that maybe most shop owners or soon to be shop owners have to realize is you are going to deal with so many different personalities. And you have to and you have to accept these personalities. If you want to keep your shop full, you have to accept these personalities. You don't have to accept everything, obviously, but there's so many different personalities. Everybody's not going to be like you. Everybody's not going to be like you. Everybody's not going to be like whoever you would love them to be like. They're not going to be, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody's their own individual. They're who they are, you know. And some people may have some things that you don't really like or care for, but man, like to let them go because of that or something like that, it just, you know, again, it depends what we're talking about, right? But personality-wise, though, you got to let them be who they are, you know?
Yeah.
To an extent, they have to follow kind of the model. You know, you don't want nothing, you know, crazy. You know,
Right.
you know, they're still a reflection of your business, or whatever they do kind of still reflects on the shop owner.
And it goes into culture, right?
Right.
Like the culture of the shop.
Yeah.
How do you develop the culture of a barbershop with all those different personalities, different backgrounds, different ethnicities coming into one space? How do you develop a culture that, you know, is respectful, is professional, but still allows them to be themselves?
It's tough. It's tough because if you have a vision on something, you know, you might picture something that when somebody walks in that door, the music is a certain tone, or it's a certain thing playing, where it's, comfortable, or, for everybody,
Right.
but somebody else might, and again, right, we have different moods, I mean, there's times where I come in and, I want to listen to some old school Biggie or Pac or whatever it is, but you just have to be mindful, right, of who's in the shop at that time and stuff like that. But, there's times where you walk in and you're like,
whoa,
right now though?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But again, it's not that big of a deal. I mean,
So let me attest to the music. So I was young when I started working for you, and bro, the music some days would drive me crazy. It would drive me nuts.
yes.
But now being a shop owner, I see the importance of the environment that you create, and music is a big part of that.
Right.
Right. But in my immaturity, there will be some days where I'm like, bro, I don't want to listen to, what was that one like country song that you guys used to play all the time?
Oh man.
I actually grew to like it over the time.
I don't even remember which
Dude,
one it was.
I cannot remember. If I remember, I'll say it.
Yeah.
But dude, it used to drive me nuts.
But you know what, Dre? Part of even that. So when you asked me, was that the location that they told you not to open in? Mm-hmm. This was one of the locations that they said, man, you don't want to open up in Amherst.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boy, was they wrong.
And I knew it though. You know what I mean? I knew that this place needed some different culture. You know what I mean? But we had yacht rock music playing, Dre, and I know it drove you crazy, and and I was cool with it at my point in my life. I was cool with the yacht rock music because first of all, I love all music, anyways. Like I can accept and love all music. I've always been like that. Mm-hmm. My mom's a hillbilly. My dad's Puerto Rican. I grew up in the project, so you can imagine. My dad is Puerto Rican, but he's a rock and roller that played guitar.
Oh wow!
All his life in bands and rock bands, right?
Yeah.
So of course I like rock music. My mom is a hillbilly who cleaned the house listening to all the country music. Mm-hmm. So I like country music. And I grew up in the projects, so hip hop was definitely it.
A big part
you know
of
what I
it.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I say that, so I'm well-rounded with music, so I was okay with yacht rock. But Dre, the reason for that is I didn't know what to expect coming in Amherst. I didn't know who was gonna walk through that door and walk right back out because there wasn't yacht rock playing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So remember, you started here with us. You started at the spot, but I mean, you opened this with us. Mm-hmm. So you got to see. You didn't realize why I was playing that, but it was a little bit of fear.
Yeah.
It was like I didn't know what to expect here. So now you walk in, we do play everything. We play everything. And what I realized is Amherst wants to hear everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we've had people come in. We've had older ladies that come in and they say, I love the mixture of music because we'll hit the shuffle button. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it plays everything. And when they say that, it's like, wow, I was tripping at the beginning,
I don't think you were tripping though.
Yeah.
I think you were making a good business decision.
Right.
Which is what I came to realize in hindsight. Right. Just through maturity and then owning my own shop and everything like that.
You look at things differently when it's yours, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if a young barber came to you and wants to open a shop, what is one of the biggest pieces of advice you could give him?
Man, I would say, I would just tell him, you got to be dedicated. Like you have to be dedicated. I mean, okay, so you have to be dedicated if you're opening your first shop. Let's put it like that for sure. Because you have to, it's your vision. Mm-hmm. So the outcome is going to be whatever you see it being,
Right.
So if you want it to be that, you have to be there. You know what I mean? To get it going.
You are the example.
Yeah, you are the example. So, but if it's your shop and let's just say you're opening up and you're the only barber, well, the first thing is that door got to be open when those hours say it's open. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just the first step. And as really getting to know your clients, because when you build that relationship, they call you their barber.
Yeah.
Just like you would like to say, that's my client. That's my friend. You know what I mean? So you got to build those relationships. It's a lot. It's a lot, and that.
100%.
And I watched you do a fantastic job at that.
Man, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
I watched you do it, and watching you right now is awesome. It's
Thank you.
awesome. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so they got to be dedicated. And then you get to the point, right, where you're probably at, or maybe you may be going, I'm sure, if you want to have another shop, so I say you have to be there. If you can get the right people in place, then you don't really have to be there that much as the owner. You know what I mean? But man, that's one of the hardest challenges is having the right people, on the team. You know
Man,
what I
that's
mean?
one piece of advice that has never left me.
Yeah.
You told me everybody can learn how to cut hair. It's hard for people to learn how to be a good person.
Right.
So hiring good people was like literally that was my mindset when I brought on everybody on my team. And I can leave for a week
Right.
to go to a barber expo and come back and not have to worry. All thanks to that advice.
Right.
So for most people in the barber industry, the pinnacle of success is opening a shop. And you open 3. Most people would be chilling. They reach their Mount Everest, right? But not Ralph Mercado. Post COVID-19, you made a really big transition from barbering into real estate, right? Now, when you made the decision to transition into being a real estate agent, did it feel, since barbering was such a big part of your life and you started so young, did it feel like a loss of identity in a way?
Man, that question is crazy. So it does. It does. I mean, literally, like, I just came in here recently and started, just looking at the place like, man, like, I got to clean this up. Like, it needs paint. It needs that. Because when you're not around, you kind of overlook things.
Right.
You come in and out and you don't pay attention to things, But I started missing it, and I always get that. Like, literally, when I was at U.S. Steel working, there was times where I was like, I'm going to start making some appointments. I'm going to start at 5 a.m. before I go into the mill.
Wow.
Like, just because I miss the shop, I miss the people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one of the hardest things to ever do is to tell your people, because these clients, man, they become family, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the hardest things to ever have to do is to tell them, man, I can't cut your hair no more.
Wow.
And I don't even know if I ever said it. I don't think I ever said it. I think I would say I can't do it on a regular basis anymore, but just shoot me a text, like hit me up, And then obviously, I got so busy in real estate that, I would have to start, hey, why don't you check out Dre? Or, why don't you check out Dan? I'm having them, seeing if they'll be okay with, checking out my, my other people.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how that happens. So yes, you definitely missed the shop for sure. So
what was it that pushed you towards real estate? Was it because you feel like you accomplished all you could accomplish, or you just wanted to try something new?
Really, for me getting into real estate, I never imagined it turning into what it did. I'm being completely honest. I did not. As growing up, and Dre, you may not even know these songs. I mean, we're talking old, Sir Mix-a-Lot and stuff, and they would talk about real estate investors who make a lot of money, in their songs and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I always thought, man, real estate could be where it's at, right? And then, but even with that, actually, my brother bought a house, and I always thought about being in real estate. Like, I don't know why, but I always thought about it. Like, I always thought that could be pretty cool. Just to be able to help somebody, buy or sell a home, like genuinely help them, like make sure you're doing the best job you can to help that person, to make sure that they're making the best decision they can make. That's one thing. But I was hearing stories, just my brother telling me his experience on buying a house, and what he was experiencing. And then he told me the agent that he bought a house from, and he told me, yeah, he made blah, blah, blah on that deal.
He said, I need that.
I was like, what? Helping one person? Like, it was just,
Yeah.
It was just, that's where it hit me, honestly. I'm not even going to lie. That's where it hit me. And and I signed up for real estate.
Wow.
And it took a while. You know, if we didn't get shut down for COVID.
Do you think you would have made that decision?
Oh no, I already started the schooling.
Okay.
Before we got shut down. But if it wasn't for us getting shut down, and I know that was terrible for a lot of people, but for me it was kind of like my
Life-changing.
biggest blessing. Yeah, because not my biggest blessing, but part of it. You know what I mean? Because I don't think I would have ever been able to finish those classes. I used to start here at 6 a.m.
I know.
You know what I
And
mean?
be here till 5.
Yeah, and later, you know. So I'd go home and I would open up my laptop and try to get the classes done and literally fall asleep on the laptop.
Brain
like
was
literally fried. So it was taking forever. So we got shut down and I was able to finish all the classes and then I was able to get my license on the first day that they opened up the testing center.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you feel like barbering helped you in your real estate career?
I think it had everything to do with it. And you know, my office manager at Russell, where I'm at right now, he told me, because I think they were surprised on how quick my real estate business took off. So they assigned me a mentor, and the mentor was supposed to help me with my first 4 deals. And I didn't ask. I don't know how long that usually takes for a new realtor coming into the business. But like I had my first 4 deals immediately. Wow. So my mentor was like, wow, like we're working on your first 4 deals like right now at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my manager, you know, he right away was like, man, you know, we got to sit down and talk, you know, and you know, there's rates and stuff, you know, there's commissions and splits, and he was like, you know, we actually have to renegotiate that like soon because you took off really quickly, you know. And then he was explaining to me from what he sees, he says that it's what I did the last 20 years of my life. All the relationships that I built. So business is built on relationships, right? So he was like, you know, all the relationships that you built over the 20 years. Because, you know, Dre, I'm not just shaking my clients' hands. I'm shaking everybody's clients' hands that walk in the door.
100.
And I'm just being me. You know what I mean? So they probably feel like they trust me. You know, like this dude, he seems trustworthy. I mean, that's the only way I could take it. Because when I made the announcement that I had my real estate license, I mean, it took off immediately. Like literally, it took off immediately. And I did not expect that. I really thought that I was just going to help a couple people here and there while I'm cutting hair. Buying and selling a house, I had no idea it was gonna be
full time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, full time.
Yeah,
I do it just attests to the trust that is built with barbering, the relationships you can nurture through barbering, because you hear everything. You hear their financial struggles, you hear family struggles, so you know when you go into real estate, you know how to help those people in their specific circumstance.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people, they trust you. They got a haircut by you for the last 20 years.
Right.
So buying a house from you is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So my question to you is, since barbering was such a big part of your life, do you feel more fulfilled now than you did just cutting hair?
Do I feel more fulfilled? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say I feel more fulfilled, but I do feel I feel more free. You know what I mean? Like, cause you know, Dre, being behind the chair, like even though it has always been a passion, even when I first started cutting hair, I didn't know. When I first started cutting hair, I had no clue we were gonna be doing this. You know that, right? When you first start cutting hair, you just cutting hair. It was just, man, this is fun.
Yeah.
Like, this is pretty cool. It was an art, and I was an artist anyways. So I used to love drawing and stuff. So it was kind of cool, you know, like, man, this is cool, drawing in people's heads and, you know, and doing all that. I didn't know then that it was going to turn into this. So, you know, even though I'm doing real estate full time, I'm always thinking about the next shop. Or, you know, I have ideas for shops that I know nobody has, you know, it's just the vision, the ideas, they pop up and it's like, I can't get them out my head. Like, it's crazy because when you get an idea or a vision, it's like you're not fulfilled until it happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, picture yourself like everything that you envisioned. Like Dre, I bet you there's probably times even with your podcast now. You probably can't sleep at night sometimes thinking about how you got to get this going. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because that vision, once it's there, you can't get rid of it. Like it has to happen.
So my question on entrepreneur level, how do you balance being grateful for how far you come and what you have while still not being fully satisfied? Like you still want more. Like how do you balance that?
Man, I don't know if there's a balance. At least for me, I don't know if there's a balance. I think one of my biggest problems is I think I always need a challenge. No matter what it is. Like I always need a challenge. And I don't know if that's a gift or a curse, Dre.
Yeah.
I'm serious. So far I would say it's been a gift. You know what I mean? But man, at what point
Is enough.
what point can I just let my mind just
Yeah.
just let my mind just breathe? Like, it's crazy, but I don't know. I guess I'm not wired that way.
I do feel like entrepreneurs, like actual entrepreneurs, not people that just claim the title because it sounds cool. I do think our brains are wired in a way that's different.
Yeah.
Because I'll have conversations with people, and I'm like, dude, you're just okay? Like, what you got? Like, you're okay with it?
Yeah.
And like, in a way, I'm like, dude, that's beautiful. But it can't be me.
Yeah.
Who knows? As a Christian, it might be the sinful nature to always want more. But at the same time, I do think it's a godly thing that he blessed us with wanting more, because we need those people, right? But I do think entrepreneurs are just wired different, man.
Yeah.
Even since the beginning, you said you always saw yourself as a shop owner, and you were 11.
Yeah. Well, once. Yeah, I was 11 when I started, but once I started, like, wow, this is fun, and I love doing it.
And I can make money,
and
too.
I can make money, too, and I don't have to go clock in anywhere. That's when I knew I was going to have a shop.
100.
I mean, I didn't know I was going to have a big shop. I didn't know I was going to have, nothing like that, but I knew I would have a shop.
Right.
Even if it was just going to be just me. But I always knew it wasn't going to be just me because I have my brother next to me. Like, Dre, I don't think I like cutting hair by myself. I like being around people. You know what I mean? I don't like the idea of cutting by myself.
I remember when I left here to go to my studio, and you said, and you did it with respect. Like, you were like, all right, I'm going to miss you, so on and so forth. Best of luck. But I remember you told me about a conversation you had with another barber asking, like I wonder if he's going to like it. And at first I did. I think it was a big part of how my content journey took off, is because I got comfortable by myself and being on camera, but I started not to. And I think it's because when you're wired the way we are, at the same time, being around other people and helping other people gives us life as well,
Yeah.
And I learned that, but I had to go by myself to realize I don't really like being by myself fully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not me.
Yeah.
Man, listen.
You didn't need to go through that. You just
if I have to cut hair by myself, man, I mean, I'll do it, right? Because now it's just about the client that needs me, or whatever. But, because I'll come in sometimes, and it'll be just me and I'll do a haircut. And it's kind of fun, too, like that,
Yeah.
But like to do it full time, like all the time, like by myself, I don't know. I've never been like that. I like being around people.
It definitely is a newer thing. But you've also probably observed, being a shop owner, with all the different people that come in, there's some people who thrive being by themselves, Yeah. So I do think it's cool that we live in a time where the opportunity to work in the studio is available, because it wasn't always a thing. But at the same time, me personally, I need the barbershop as well,
I knew you would.
Yeah.
I knew you would, but you also had goals in mind, and you knew what you needed that space for, and you absolutely crushed exactly what you needed it for. So, but that was your vision,
So your transition from barbering to real estate, I look up to, because I always talk about, like, I know there's some barbers who get into barbering and don't want to cut hair forever. Like, for us, we always want to have our hands and feet in barbering in some way, right? But there's some people who don't. And I always talk about being able to use barbering as a vehicle. And you've used it well. But it can be scary to go from a consistent income with a book clientele and pivot into something completely brand new, especially later in life. What would your advice be to a barber who feels like they may want more, but is scared to let it go?
Man, it's tough. Like, so, okay, well, it goes with anything, right? Like, if you don't try, you'll never know. You know what I mean? So, like, if they feel that they want more and they feel, and if they, first of all, do they have the vision for whatever that is, or did it actually turn into that? Because I would have never, and I wouldn't recommend anybody to ever, let's just say real estate. I wouldn't recommend anybody to just to get their real estate license and just quit doing whatever they're doing. No, you got to grow into whatever that next thing is. Like, I mean, you should, because I mean, if you just get a real estate license and think, man, I'm about to be a realtor, I'm done cutting hair.
Yeah.
Like, that's foolish. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you don't even, first of all, you don't even know how this is going to work for you.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? Bro, like, here again, Dre, you know how you said I don't hold back on sharing information? So I wish I had somebody tell me years ago, like, man, with all the relationships you built, you should get a real estate license. Nobody told me that.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just happened. And again, it might not be the same for everybody, right? Because for one, you do have to be trustworthy. Like, people have to feel that, you know, you're a respectful person and and a truthful person, like, because that's a big deal. You know what I
100,
mean?
yeah.
You know, so what I'm saying is, I told my barbers, and knowing that they could outgrow MySpace, knowing that they can outgrow, like, that they can get into it and say, Ralph, man, I'm sorry, but I don't need to be in your shop no more, you know?
Yeah.
But it's okay, because I just want to see people do good.
That's
You know what I
awesome.
mean? So I'm telling my barbers and stylists, like, hey, I'll start the Ohio exclusive real estate team. Get your license. And let's go. Like, I will show you how to do it. I'll walk you through these houses, like, until you understand and until
Yeah.
you get it. Like, I'm offering that to them. You know what I mean? And you know, and in the back of my mind, I already know I'm talking myself out of a barber.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and out of a stylist, you know, because it's true. Like,
But it just goes to show that you care about them,
Right.
not necessarily what they do for you.
right.
I heard a quote, and I was trying to remember as you were talking, and he basically said, if you make sure other people are good, you will always be good.
Wow. It's true too.
And it's like that. It's just the reciprocation, right? And that's a biblical principle. I can't remember the scripture off the top of my mind, right? But if you are able to make sure other people are good, bro, you'll be good.
Yeah.
you
I
know?
believe it. I believe it.
And it's been evident in your
Yeah.
life. You know what I'm saying?
You know.
So for the people that is ready to pivot and do something else, man, just do it little by little,
Yeah.
right? Whether it be content as well. People always ask me, Jay, like, how do I get into the content game? Bro, start by posting pictures, then
Right.
post videos, then put yourself on camera, and just keep stacking over a long enough period of time. And like the thing is, I wasn't always able to monetize my social media platforms,
Right.
right? But I treated it like a job long before it was one, you know. And I think having the
Passion.
mentality is important.
Vision and passion too.
Yeah.
You told me from the beginning when you first started with license. I remember you telling me, like, I want to do the social media thing and I want to grow it. I mean, did you really visualize it being where it's at today?
So I always struggle because I strongly hoped that I would be able to do the things that I have, or have done, but I didn't know fully, right? You never know.
Right.
But the Lord gave me peace. Like there was milestones along the way where it was like, okay, like I'm on the right path. But did I know? No.
Because you can't guarantee.
Yeah.
You know.
But I was confident.
Yeah.
And I was willing to do what was necessary to get there.
Okay.
You know?
And you knew what there was, kind of, though, because again, it's a whole new, like, for me, I'm 48 years old. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny because I got little, you know, I have a 13 and an 11-year-old too, right? And I hear the conversations with the young kids, like, like, you know, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? They want to be they want to have social media presence. They want to be a social media. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and, you know, I would never shoot it down because, you know, but I'm like, well, let's look at some other options though. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, you know,
yeah.
because everybody can't do that.
Right, right.
You say, can anybody open up a barbershop? Probably. Can anybody post something? Yes, but can they really, you know? But my point was, you knew where that was at because you're in that era. Like you already see people doing maybe
Yeah.
what, you know.
That goes into another quote that I like to say a lot is your level of exposure will dictate your level of success. All I needed to see was that it was possible.
Right.
If I see somebody else can do it, in my mind, there's just no reason I can't.
That's true.
You know, if I want it bad enough and I'm willing to learn.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like a lot of what makes people scared to take risks is like mindset. Or one thing I like to say is limiting beliefs, right? And what limiting beliefs are ideologies that you kind of have in your brain that don't necessarily benefit you and can hold you back, right? And growing up in the projects and being exposed to, like, I grew up in the hood as well. I didn't grow up in the projects, but I grew up in the Marshalls, which is pretty similar. And you're exposed to a level of thinking that does not cultivate an entrepreneur in the right way, right? So what limiting beliefs did you have to shed to get where you are?
You know, one of the things was getting out of my little area, Dre. Like, I say my little area, like, yeah, we say I grew up in the projects on 30th, but think about it. Like, my first shop was right around the corner. Like, I could walk there, you know, 34th and Pearl. Mm-hmm. My next shop was right around the corner, 28th, you know, 1800 block. You know, I'm just saying, like, it's all right there, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't know, like, maybe I wasn't confident, or maybe I just wasn't ready, or I didn't know that I can branch out and go to another neighborhood, you know what I mean? Or another area, you know. So like, even opening up here in Amherst, when everybody told me not to, it was like I said, it was a little risky, a little scary, because again, Dre, I'm not too far from where I was at already, right?
Yeah.
But again, man, I was like in a bubble, you know what I mean? Like,
You exposed yourself.
coming out here,
Level
right?
of exposure, yeah.
Trying, yeah. But I'm saying, but prior to that, like, man, even growing up as a kid, like when I got my driver's license, Dre, I drove around like this. Like, I never went outside like of my area. You know what I mean? I was always stuck right there. So to open up over here was a big deal for me, because now I know, like, okay, I went over there, like,
Yeah.
we did it here. Like, it turned out pretty good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now I know I can go anywhere, like anywhere. I'll open up anywhere now. If I, you know,
Yeah.
if I saw an opportunity, or I thought, like, man, this might be good, I'm not afraid.
So was the limiting belief that you didn't think you could do it outside of where you were?
Yes.
Wow.
Because, you know, I was only associated with, like, people I grew up with, and people that were just like me, you know, on the same page. But, you know, and what I mean by that is, like, how we grew up. You know, you come out here, you know, it's a little bit different, you know. I mean, it really is. I mean, it might not be that much different, you know, but it's different.
Was there a person that you met or an experience that you had that helped you, like, get rid of that belief?
Man, you know, in some weird way, Dre, when I went to US Steel, maybe working there, surrounding myself with a different environment and different people there, maybe it opened up, and that's the only thing I could think of, maybe it opened something up in my mind, like, you know, because when I went back to the barbershop from US Steel, I thought the place needed a remodel. Like, I was cutting hair, and Dre, I wasn't feeling the vibe. Like, I wasn't feeling something. Something
Yeah.
wasn't right anymore to me. And I thought that it was okay, man, I got to do another remodel. And man, as I was doing that remodel, we're working through it. Like, we're working, and we had half of the room blocked off, and they're doing one side, and we're cutting on the other side of the blue tarp. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I started realizing that it wasn't the remodel, man. It was, unfortunately, it was the vibe. It was some of the people that we were working with. And man, one of the hardest things to do was make that change. Like, you know, you know, because I really, like, even though it wasn't working. Certain barbers or whatnot, like the vision that I started having, it was while I'm doing the remodel, that vision, I couldn't see it getting there anymore. It was so weird, man. Like it just hit me. I was cutting hair and wow.
They just don't fit it.
You're not gonna show this picture, this one, right?
No.
So I think it was probably while I was doing that haircut, maybe. I wonder if we were. No, I don't see the blue tarp there.
Okay.
But I say that because I remember I was doing a haircut, and because I had a pretty good vision, man. I was like, man, we're gonna turn this. This is gonna be nice. I don't even know where it came from. But anyway, started doing the remodel, and the vision, it came to me that, man, if I want to have this vision, if I want to keep going to what I see, it's not going to be with these people, unfortunately. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's tough because I love those people.
Right.
Even though our visions wasn't lined up, they were not lined up at all. And I still love them though. You know what I mean? Like I really did. Like
it's an unfortunate part of the business.
Right.
And I think that's like a lot of people will realize that certain people don't fit where they want to go, but like won't let them go. So the fact that you did it is ultimately why you got here as hard as it was.
Right.
Right. But yeah, I can attest that I haven't had to fire anybody or get rid of anybody.
I hope you never have to, because I'm gonna tell you right now, it's one of the hardest things to do.
And I already know, because I'm the same way. I'm a people pleaser, so hopefully that doesn't have to happen. I mean, it will. It's inevitable, honestly, as a business owner.
Maybe not. You know, I mean, I literally. Okay, so, man, I had one guy, man. And if you have to edit this and cut it out, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I had
no names.
Yeah, definitely no names. But I had one guy, and I known him forever, and I remember him coming to me and telling me such and such is shutting down. They shut down their shop, man, and I need a place to work. Now, mind you, even though I had love for this dude, and I went to all the kids' birthday parties, like we did all that. You know what I mean? I knew that I never wanted to work with him. I already knew that, you know what I mean? But when somebody comes to you and tells you like, man, I got to feed my family. I need a place, That's tough. Because again, I love people, you know what I mean? So I made it very clear. This one was very clear, hey, you know what? I tell you what, if I give you a shot, you got to just promise me that none of this will ever take place here. You know what I mean? See, and that's the thing, like, man, what people do outside of the shop, man, it will, and it does reflect on your business.
Yeah.
I've learned that too. So, some people probably feel like, oh, who cares what I do outside of here? But it's going to follow you to my shop.
Does,
you know what I mean? So anyway, unfortunately, it was brought to my attention that what I asked them not to bring to the shop was brought to the shop. You know what I mean? So first person that I ever had to let go, and there has only been a couple. Trust me when I tell you there's only been a couple. Like not even one, not even a handful throughout all the years, not even a handful. But that was the hardest thing for me to do. I had to, he called me up and he says, hey, Ralph, I got your booth rent for you. And I was like, you know what? Hold on to that. And I was like, and meet me at the shop in the morning. You know what I mean? Man, I couldn't even sleep at night, right?
Yeah, that's hard.
It's so hard. So I get to the shop, and he goes to hand me my money, and I was like, hey, I want you to keep that. And he was like, well, what you mean? And I said, well, unfortunately, you might need it. You know what I mean? I said, man, one of the only things that I made clear to you was, not this or that. And man, here we are today, this or that. And, and I felt so bad, because he was like, how am I going to go home and tell my family that I don't have a job? And I said, man, trust me, this is really hard for me to do. I said, but imagine if I keep you and then I got to go home and tell my family I don't have a job because of what you're doing. I was like, I can't do that either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was tough.
Yeah.
And then, boy, I tell you, they start.
They start showing colors.
Yeah. What about like, damn, what, really? So you saying we got to clean it out?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But yeah, man, it's crazy. But
so do So a filter for letting people go is setting expectations, and if they don't meet them, that's the cutoff.
And that was the only thing that made it somewhat easy in that situation. Because I specifically said, we can't do this. If I would have never said that, man, I probably could have never let the dude go. But we talked about that, and you promised me that that's not even a thing in my life anymore. You know, okay, perfect then. Then we ain't gonna have to worry about it. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, unfortunately, that was that.
Yeah.
But so yes. That's the best thing you could do, man, is set these expectations, and then if it doesn't, if you know, we talked about this already, you know,
Yep.
and Dre,
if you don't meet it, then
yeah, I can't even say that I ever really even did or do that. So even having this conversation, you know, maybe that's something that has to be established from the very beginning.
Yeah.
It should be. It should be.
That's something I've tried to do.
Yeah.
Because early on in the my barbershop, you know, it was new. I just want to I want to bring people on, you know.
Right.
But then I had to like double down, have a meeting, set expectations again, and then we'll move from here. Because I just kind of said, yeah, bro, just, you know.
Yeah.
Pull up,
Thinking
set
that,
up.
No, thinking that they have the same drive or whatnot than you do, if that's the case. Like if it's a matter of being on time or being here, you know, and everybody don't have that.
Exactly.
So then you got to kind of instill that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of today's conversation had to be able to pull out bits and pieces of information that a viewer can pull and apply to their own career, right? So reflecting on young Ralph, if there's one piece of advice you can give him going into his first shop, what would that be? Young Ralph.
Man, young Ralph might have not even had really no advice for you like that, to be honest, because young Ralph was still learning.
What advice would you give to young Ralph?
Oh, what advice would I give to young Ralph? Wow. And avoid all the learning curves. I think, man, to be completely honest, I think maturity and maturing into today's Ralph, I don't even know if advice would have worked, because just like when you got kids, you know, just like, you know, a parent may tell a kid something that they've been through so they don't have to go through it, but they're still going to go through it. You know what I mean? So I guess it would be, hey, you know, just give it 100 and try your best, and you're going to learn a lot. And you know what? And maybe even, you know, today's Dre is not going to look anything like 10 years from now, Dre. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
right.
And knowing that now, because I look at where I was at 10 years ago, and to be honest, like, man, I can't even believe where I'm at today.
Wow.
You know, I mean, 10 years ago, you couldn't tell me I was going to have 3 shops and I was going to be one of the top realtors in this entire area. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't have told me. I wouldn't have believed it.
Right.
I would have been like, wow, man, thanks for speaking that into my life. But you know, so I guess the advice I could give is, you know, just, you know, young Ralph, just keep going, keep trying, and keep learning, and keep growing and maturing. Because I even say, you know, I do say, man, I wish I would have gotten into real estate 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But guess what? The timing wasn't right. It wouldn't have turned out the way it did today. My opening different locations, meeting people in different areas, like all that had a part to do with it. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah, all that had a part to do with it. So, yeah, so keep pushing, keep trying, keep learning, and keep maturing for sure. Like I feel like I was immature, man, for real. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, but I always thought I was mature. I always thought I was good.
Yeah, I got to figure it out.
Yeah. So, you know, when you see yourself, like, Dre, I can't wait to see where you're at 10 years from now. I really can't, because I can only imagine. You know what I mean? Seriously.
Thank you.
And I know you probably you seem like you plan things out, Dre, because I've watched you do it. Everything you said you was going to do, I watched you do. And you planned it, and you've been literally hitting the mark on everything you said you were going to do, which is crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, I'm grateful.
But like me, I never said I was going to do these things. It just happened. You know what I mean?
You're a doer.
Yeah,
I
never had the plan or anything. It just, I'll jump out and do something out of nowhere. Like,
So honestly, this was out of nowhere. I consume podcasts all the time. I watch them all the time. But I was thinking of different ways to expand my presence online. And I said, man, I would love to just have conversations with people and record it. And I had this idea 2 weeks ago. I ordered everything, texted you, set up the interview, and here we are.
Wow.
So a lot of times I know what big picture goal is. I know where I want to be.
Right.
But I don't always know how I'm gonna get there. But if I have an idea and I feel at peace about it, I'll just do it. You know.
And that's how it goes.
Yeah, I'll take the best educated guess possible, and then from that we'll just operate in faith. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So
and then end up doing a class and showing people how to do it.
Right.
Because you mastered
Right.
it. You know what I mean? Which
Right.
is insane too. But yeah.
So let me ask you a personal question, because as a married man, my wife is a huge part of why I'm able to do what I do. Her selflessness, her ability to just handle everything outside of what I'm doing, so I can just step away and do business things. You've been with your wife since the beginning, bro. How important has she been in your success in your life?
Everything. From day one, even in this business. Oh, don't do this.
Just from observation, I've seen you and your wife just like operate together, and between having your oldest and then having the two, bro, it's something I look up to, bro. You know, her ability to support, hold you down, you take care of her, and really, bro, to see where you guys started and where you are now, you've broken a generational curse and you guys have transformed your life, you know. And I know when you're married, it's not just because of you, it's because of the other person. And that's why I ask you how important she's been.
Mm-hmm. Very. And like I said, even in this business, she got her license before me. And I've been cutting hair since I was a little kid. You know what I mean? So it was like, man, how'd she get her license before me? You know what I mean? So when she got hers, like, she motivated me, like, man, I'm gonna go get mine. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we've always pushed each other, actually. So right now, she's getting her real estate license, and I've been pushing her.
Bro, that's crazy.
And she's like, I'm gonna do it. Like, I mean, she's already done with the classes and everything. She's just taking the test now, you know. So like, I've been pushing her, like, just like she pushes me, you know. Mm-hmm. And she probably, I don't know, maybe we need to push sometimes each other. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's been like that for us, and she's always, you know, she's always supported what I, you know, pushed me to do what I do. Even though at times, you know, like I said, when I'm cutting hair to pay for drywall and stuff, and I was trying to tell you that I still have bills to pay at home. Mm-hmm. I couldn't come up with my half, Dre. And, you know, that was tough. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, man, the struggle was real, you know? So, but she held it down.
Wow.
She held it down with an attitude.
Shout out Jackie.
Yeah, she held it down with an attitude, though. But she held it down. So, you know, but we always push each other. And definitely, like, I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at in business today without her.
Yeah.
Nah.
If you can describe your journey in one word, what would it be?
Crazy. Crazy. Yeah, no, for real. Like, everything, think about it, Dre. Having a kid at 15, all that, that's crazy. Yeah. You know, and just...
I had a kid at 20 and panicked.
Yeah.
Couldn't imagine 5 years before that.
So, yeah, I say my journey's been crazy, man, because, again, nothing was ever planned. Nothing, Dre. Like, Dre, these young barbers out here, you know, and man, and I know you asked me these questions early on, you know, like, man, what's the startup look like? Like, you know, Dre, man, like, for you to be prepared for that startup is that's you again. You're planning and stuff, you know, not me, Dre. Like, oh, I got 10,000. I'm gonna open up this shop.
Yeah.
Dre, they told me, I was like, I'm gonna make it happen. You know what I mean? And they told me, when I went to go get my permit to start the remodel,
it is 10,000.
No, they they was like, oh, do you got your drawings with you? And I was like, drawings? And they were like, yeah, your drawings. And then I said, like what, like drawings of how I want to do the shop. And they were like, yeah. I was like, can I do those myself? Because, you know, I'm nasty on the computer
Yeah,
with the graphics and all that, you know. So I'll draw it up real nice, you know, how you want it to look. I didn't tell them that like that. But, you know, she was like, sure, you can do the drawings yourself. She was like, if you know all the plumbing and electrical codes. And I'm like, how do I get drawings?
Yeah.
And she said, you got to hire an architect. And just that word alone sounded like my budget was gone. You know what I mean? And in a lightweight was, you know, I think the architect was like, and he showed me love though, man, because I think he understood me and he felt me when I was like, man, you know, I didn't expect this, you know, whatever. But I think because of that, I think it was still.
And that was for this shop.
That was for this shop. And I think it was still, man, he gave me a deal. From what I understand, it was the first time I ever had to hire an architect. Right. I think it was like maybe $5,000. You know,
that's a deal.
There's half the budget. You know what I mean? Because he told me it is typically more.
Yeah, mine was like double.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why when you said that's 10,000, it was gonna be more. It was gonna be more. But I think the guy must have a heart. You know what I mean? Because he was like, I'll work with you. You know what I mean? So you know, you have to pay them to put your vision on paper, so that way somebody can read it and understand it.
Right.
So
let me ask you. You started the shop with 10,000. You thought it'd be enough.
Yeah.
Off rip, 5,000 was gone.
Right.
Did you feel like you would still be able to open the shop at that point or no?
Dre, and that's where I was going with this for these young barbers out here. You know, you think you gotta have it all together. I never had it all together for any shop that I opened, except the Illyria shop. Okay, but I never with the Spot, with the Perfect Blend, with, you know, Ohio exclusive here in Amherst, the first Ohio exclusive. I didn't have it all together. I thought I did. You know what I mean? I thought I was like, oh, that's plenty of money.
Right.
And bro, when it got started, I was like, damn, you know. So, but my point was, man, if you really want it, man, one way or another, it's gonna happen. You're gonna figure it out. You know what I mean? Is it the smartest thing to do? Is it smart to do that? Probably not, Dre. Yeah. But you know me, man. Faith and drive, it got open.
Speaking of faith, how crucial do you think God was in that process?
Oh man, in every process, Dre, it was everything. Because Dre, before I gave my life to the Lord and even got to know the Lord at all, I used to always wonder, how did I get the Spot open? Like, Dre, I bought the building on a land contract. A down payment, and I made payments for 10 years. With nothing. I had nothing, but I was able to come up with a down payment, and I was able to make my monthly payments. And again, grinding, drywall, the whole nine, right? 5 years later to get the first half of it done.
Wow.
Only the first half. The back room wasn't done. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
But we opened. So what I'm saying is, before I got to know the Lord and gave myself to the Lord, I always said, I don't know how I got that place open. Because people would ask me, how'd you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. Because I had nothing. You know what I mean? I had my first shop, but again, man, that's paying bills. You know what I mean? So I had nothing. And then now hindsight, getting to the house of praise, you know what I mean? And all that, where it all began for me. Now I know how it all happened. You know, it was, you know, God knew it was going to happen before I knew, and he orchestrated all that. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
So same thing again with this shop. Like, okay, you know, you thought you had enough to get it open.
Yeah.
But it's okay. God was like, just go do it. Just do it, you know, and it'll happen. And that's where we're at today. And then with the real estate, Dre, I wasn't ready for the test. I was not ready for the test, Dre. There's a program. I went to Hondros online. They have a study thing called CompuCram, and it tells you your overall readiness for going to take the test.
Okay.
Mine was all the way in the red. I was not ready. Okay, but I knew if I didn't take it the first day that they opened the testing center, then I would have to wait till the end of the summer. So I just tried it anyways. And when I got there, something told me, just pray, go for a walk and pray before I took the test. And that's what I did. And and I passed it on the first try. Unbelievably.
Yeah.
I passed it. I wasn't ready. But apparently I was.
You were.
You know?
Yeah. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
The Lord, man, God is amazing, bro. Honestly, I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't have my wife. I wouldn't have the life that I have if it wasn't for him, man.
I agree with you. I believe
Yeah.
that's why. Yeah, for sure.
Beautiful. So to finish it off, if your life were a haircut, what hairstyle would it be?
Do I have hair in this life? Do I have hair in this life?
Yeah. In this question, you have hair.
Oh man, we joke around all the time in here, Dre. And one of the things is something that you recently did is how we talk about this. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm like, man, listen, you guys, I'm watching to see what the outcome is over there with Dre. I was like, because if it's right, I said, I'm about to come back in here looking like Gabe.
Crispy.
I'm gonna come in here looking like Gabe. My stuff's going like this. And I think when we were in your new house, I think you had said the same thing. I think you said, man, I'm about to have hair like Gabe or something like that. I think you did. So I told them that you said that, and then I kind of incorporate that into my jokes because you know Gabe got the biggest hair, but sometimes, you know. But anyway, so you said if life was a haircut.
If your life up to this point was a hairstyle, what would it be? You described your life as crazy.
Right.
But remember that.
Yeah. If my life was a hairstyle, I don't know, man, because all of them are fun. They're always changing. Like you know what? I'm gonna say a high top fade. I'm gonna say a high top fade with the step, with the part going. It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be because you know what, Dre? Those were the funnest haircuts to ever do. And the crazy thing is, I did them when they first came out. And then they came back for a very short period, and I got to do a couple again, which I thought was so cool. You know, I got to actually see that go out and come back, which is crazy. But those were fun.
Yeah.
Those were fun, yeah. So that if my life was a haircut, that's what it would be. It would be a high top fade with the slope, with the ramp right here. You know what I mean? With the part, for sure.
For each step of the process.
Right,
boom, boom. You see, I got you.
Right,
I got you.
You got me.
Well, hey, man, Ralph, I appreciate this conversation. Honestly, super grateful and blessed to know you as an individual, man.
Same here, Dre. 100%. Thank you.
For sure.
Love you, bro.
Let's go. Woo! That was awesome. That was so awesome, bro.
Yes, sir.